Hey, good. Hi. So I don't know if you agree with everything Bernie Sanders says, but when he went on to Stephen Colbert and said that it's time to stop arguing about 2016, he was right about that at the very least. I thought the wording of this resolution was very interesting, so let's go through a few terms. At this point in time, that means right now, obviously, that excludes like hypothetical future scenarios, and I can also concede that criticism in the past was totally. Secondly, criticism. That means express disapproval. This is not the same thing as an investigation. I trust the Department of Justice. They could continue with any investigations that might implicate Hillary Clinton. But I think what this is implying is the media attention that's given to Hillary Clinton. Unnecessary. That means that it produces no unique benefit. I think that means that there are some burdens that have come out and that it is on the opposition to prove that there is some sort of benefit to ongoing criticism. You may like criticizing Hillary Clinton, and it is your right to criticize her, but is it necessary is a different question, and I'm going to say no. So here's my strategy. I'm going to take the one issue that I think is the most credible, the biggest issue that one should criticize Hillary Clinton about and debunk it. And if I do that, then anything else should be not even rise to that level. And this is uranium one. So for Uranium One, a little bit of background. It's a 2010 deal that allowed Rosatom, a Russian company, to get controlling stake in the Uranium One. Some people associated with that company donated $145 million to the Clinton Foundation, and on surface, this means something that she ought to be criticized for. But I'm going to give you 6 reasons why not. First, the investigation has already been started. That means that it's ongoing. Any implications, the criticism isn't going to change that outcome. There's been an indictment just recently. It's moving forward swimmingly. Secondly, Hillary Clinton was not a key decision maker. She was one of 9 secretaries that made that decision. Third, Obama was the only one who could have stopped that sale. Hillary Clinton, even if she didn't vote for it, she wouldn't have made any difference. Fourth, the scandal pay for play timeline doesn't add up. 90% of the money that was donated to the Clinton Foundation was done 3 years prior to the deal, 18 months prior to her being named secretary. Fifth, the disclosure mistakes were completely legal and have already been criticized. Sixth, and finally, the Clinton Foundation is not giving and did not give a salary to Hillary Clinton at the time. This is the definition of beating a dead horse. At this point in time, ongoing criticism of Hillary Clinton is unnecessary.
Okay, can you hear me good? Okay, so today I'll be arguing that the ongoing criticism of Hillary Clinton is necessary. So to start, I agree with your definitions mostly about disrespect and disapproval, or expressing disapproval. But I'm going to disagree that simply debunking Uranium One means that she does not deserve any ongoing criticism at this point. So I think to properly analyze this resolution, we have to look at it at currently who criticized her, why they criticize her, and why does it matter that they criticize her. So obviously the resolution isn't calling for everybody to go out in the streets and to criticize Hillary Clinton, and that brings me to my first contention. It's the resolution is calling for the people who are currently criticizing Hillary Clinton to continue to do so, right? The ongoing criticism. And so the main 2 parties who are doing this right now is the right wing and the younger portion of the Democratic Party. And when we talk about the word necessary in this context, we're talking about necessary for them to accomplish their goals and to achieve what they're trying to achieve with the groups that are currently criticizing her. So the right wing obviously wants to keep criticizing Hillary Clinton because she is still the forefront of the Democratic Party and therefore can demonize the entire Democratic Party through the mishandling of Hillary Clinton, and also feel that she has misrepresented the American people as her role as a public servant. I will get to more of that later. But also the young Democratic Party also went to criticize Hillary Clinton for the fact that they want to change in leadership, and that they feel that Hillary Clinton and her old school peers do not represent the modern day ideals that they hold dear in the Democratic Party. And so they express their distaste by criticizing her for her wrongdoings. Now, looking at what Hillary Clinton has done to warrant criticism brings me to my second contention. She has been a part of more scandals than almost any American politician in history. She is currently a part of 4 ongoing investigations, and these investigations aren't little slip-ups either. They're major investigations like her email scandal, Benghazi, things that directly relate to her job as Secretary of State or other positions she'd have as a public servant representing the American people. Now, these current investigations, while very relevant, are not the only thing that we can criticize Hillary Clinton for. She's had scandals going back to her days in Arkansas with Whitewater. So when you look at events like her email scandals, where she's mishandling classified documents by sending them on her BlackBerry, or the Benghazi scandal, when she comes out and says it's not a terrorist attack to the American people, even though 2 hours prior she admits it is to an email to the prime minister. That it was indeed a terrorist attack, and there's no question. So when you look at these things, you have to look at why they are significant, right? And I'll get to that in my third pitch. But the main point here is that Hillary Clinton, in the way that we criticize her, expresses our distaste, and just simply ignoring this sets a precedent in the future for our public officials and our representatives in the future of our democracy. And with that, I'll pass it back.
Okay, so I got two big things from the right wing and Young Democrats. I'll answer those in a second, but I want to point to the burdens. There has to be a unique benefit that they can get that they can't get otherwise without attacking Hillary Clinton. Okay, and that was agreed to. Okay, so let me answer the right wing. So my answers to this is that the right wing should move on to other targets right now. Otherwise, they're going to look like they are beating a dead horse. Okay. So first, they have other targets that they can go after. They could go after Obama. He is much more the lead of the Democratic Party because he won and she didn't. Secondly, they could go over Elizabeth Warren, who's actually the future of the Democratic Party. They can move on to Oprah like they have been because they don't like her speech at the Golden Globes. There are plenty of other options to go for. Hillary Clinton is not unique. In fact, my second response is Hillary Clinton is a worse target because they're now targeting someone who isn't the leadership of the Democratic Party, and they're wasting their time and energy. Next, I would say that this is a distraction from their job being watchdogs of the people who are actually in power. Hillary Clinton does not possess any sort of elected office. She's not making decisions. She's not collecting a salary. I think that their job should be to move on to people who are actually in power. And even if that means that they're targeting Democrats, so be it. That's fine. Let's talk about young Democrats. My response is that Hillary Clinton's career is over. She is not the leadership of the Democratic Party. That is an assertion with absolutely no evidence. In her book tour, she said that she's not running for office anymore. That spells that she's not the leadership anymore. People are already moving on to Elizabeth Warren, and there's still a bunch of Bernie bros out there. And not only that, and everything else about Benghazi, emails and things like that. First off, Benghazi has already been investigated. In fact, it was a longer investigation than the Watergate investigations. And you know what the result of that was? Absolutely nothing. It was led by Republicans and they still couldn't find anything. The House Select Committee found absolutely no wrongdoing, and that's official documentation proof, okay? And there's no unique benefit to ongoing. What, are we going to find out some new information about Benghazi that hasn't been put out in the media? Absolutely not. And this is doubly true for her emails. This is what cost her the election. These emails have been litigated. I think that we should have, even though it's not a formal setting, I think we should have an informal sort of double jeopardy rule that if somebody has been litigated for something like emails or Benghazi, that doing it over and over again is just mean-spirited, beating a dead horse, and it doesn't fulfill your agenda or the Democrats' agenda.
Okay, so a few of the points I'll continue and then I'll respond to your points. So, so you mentioned that Hillary Clinton is not the current face of the Democratic Party or is not active anymore. I think this is just preposterous, honestly. She's still writing books, to which actually the person that helped her write What Happened said he believes that she's going to run again. There's been conflicting reports about whether or not she's actually going to run again. I guess we'll see. But even besides that, she's still giving speeches. She's issuing statements on current political events. She even marched in the Orlando Pride Parade in September of 2017. On top of all of this, she launched onwardtogether.org, which's slogan is resist, insist, persist, and enlist. So she's still trying to push people to be politically active under her beliefs or her platforms. And this idea that she's lost and now she's history is just not true. Even when you look at her own speeches where she says, I'm anything but done, in her speech after she lost the presidential election. So once again, we have to look at why they're important, right? And why they're important to these people to accomplish their goals. So the right wing, you say that they need to move on and it's just a distraction for them. But that's clearly not true if Hillary Clinton is still pursuing an active career, because she still embodies like these ideals that both Republicans and Democrats don't agree with, and they express their distaste and their dissatisfaction through their criticism. Same with the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has a very big problem of their age. The average age of a Democrat in Congress Congress is over 60. And even though there's some outliers like Bernie Sanders that embody the ideals of the younger Democratic Party, most of the Democrats do not agree with Hillary Clinton's style and views in the Democratic Party. In a CNN poll just in September of last year, they asked Democrats which official, and they gave them a list, do you think embodies your ideals the best? And less than 10% of the over 500 Democrats that were surveyed said that they think Hillary Clinton embodies their ideal the best. And this is even coming from CNN, which is normally a very Hillary Clinton biased news source. Most people can agree. And then even if you look onto something like the possibility of her running in 2020, it's still important for us to criticize her. That way people know the expectation we hold for our public officials. And things like you brought up Benghazi and the email scandal, we're just beating a dead horse. It's not beating a dead horse for a few reasons. One, you talk about they had this investigation, she was never prosecuted. Even James Comey, the director of the FBI, testified on July 7th, 2016 in Congress that Hillary Clinton still mishandled classified information. They didn't prosecute her because intent. Even she admits that she made mistakes in mishandling on her part. That still warrants criticism, even if it doesn't warrant a prosecution.
Okay, all of those things warrants criticism, and the criticism already happened. This isn't whether or see, let's go back to the definitions. It's not whether or not she deserved criticism in the past. She did, and she got it, and she lost the presidency because of that criticism. Ongoing criticism isn't going to bring unique benefits. She's not going to lose the 2016 election twice. There's no unique benefit. Not one benefit has been brought out by the opposition, and that is their burden that they agreed to since the beginning of this debate. Let's go on to some specifics. First, he says that Hillary Clinton is still a leader because she wrote a book, marched, and made a website. None of these things mean that she's a leader. Plenty of people have done this, and they are not leaders of the Democratic Party. I've given you other people that have no response from the opposition. For instance, Obama, Elizabeth Warren, and Oprah, no response whatsoever. I think those are better examples of leadership and even Bernie can be that one. Secondly, on the like declaring her a leader is just an excuse that news companies are using to get ratings. She's a nice target. She's a good scarecrow for them to beat up and look like they're winning. But that doesn't mean that she's actually the leadership. You need to look at some. You need to look at what she said in her book tour herself, not the author, not somebody's impression about whether she's going to run again. She said she is not running. Not only that, but they're just like the young Democrats want to move on. That pressure that even the opposition says exists is going to move them on to someone else. And it's looking like Elizabeth Warren. If conservatives really want to target the future, they better start moving on to someone who actually has power and political clout. Let's move on to, he never responded. So he said that it's already been investigated and therefore that I've responded to the emails, but he didn't respond to how there's any unique benefit that's coming out of it whatsoever. Boom, boom, boom. I think that, I think furthermore, the only thing that Hillary Clinton deserves to be criticized at this time is the Uranium One deal, and even that doesn't rise to it. Every other example that's been brought up by the opposition, it's even less of a scandal than Uranium One. It has been litigated. There has been more hours devoted to Benghazi and emails than the Watergate scandal, another thing that my opponent never responded to. We've gone over this. We don't need to rake her over the coals over and over again. So she's making money selling books. That sucks for the conservatives that she doesn't like go into a cave and cry herself to death. But we don't need to beat a dead horse. We need to move on. We need to not be distracted by the people who are actually wielding power in the United States government. We need watchdogs, and people beating on Hillary Clinton don't achieve that.
Okay, so a few of your points. You're talking about there has to be some unique benefit for them to have ongoing criticism. Once again, pointing back to criticism, criticism is expressing your disapproval or distaste for somebody or their actions, right? The ongoing benefit here is that Hillary Clinton is still trying to push people through her website or through her books or through her speeches or through just her position in the world and her influence. She's trying to push people to be politically active onto her agenda, and the younger Democratic Party does not agree with this, and therefore they are criticizing her to express their disapproval and her as a way that she embodies the ideals of the older generation of the Democratic Party. And you said, well, we should just move on and criticize other leaders. Okay, I agree other leaders deserve criticism too, but that doesn't mean that we should stop criticizing Hillary Clinton. And you keep bringing up the Watergate scandal. Do you think that after the Watergate scandal was already investigated and Richard Nixon resigned, that people said we should stop criticizing Richard Nixon? No, like, that's preposterous. People still criticize Richard Nixon because the way that it was handled sets a precedent for the future for how we, for the level that we hold our elected officials to, right? I think we can both agree that we don't want our Secretary of State's emailing classified information from our BlackBerry, right? So it's important to make that clear that what Hillary Clinton represents and what she involves still to this day is still significant, that we do not agree with that, both on the Republican and the Democratic side. And even in the DNC, the chair of the DNC, it's once again another CNN article that was published, which is once again biased towards Hillary Clinton, published an article saying that they are purging people that are Bernie Sanders side, that do not agree with the Clinton side. So it's pretty clear that there's definitely a window for her to run again on some side. A quick apology tour, and then bam, she's back in the race. It's not unlogical, right? She's gone back and forth saying, oh, I might do it, oh, I'm not going to do it. But the people around her saying, yeah, it's actually pretty likely that she's going to run again. But you don't have to run for president to be the forefront of a national party, right? When you try to embody their ideals and you try to push an agenda and you claim to align under that party, and you're frankly the most recent nominee of that party, there's some inherent weight that comes with having that position. And therefore, if people disagree with you, it's important for them to express that opposition through criticism and to cause a change in the ideals that we have in our elected officials.
Okay, so I'm glad that the opposition brought out or at least describe something that could be considered a benefit to ongoing criticism. But that also acknowledges that everything prior to that was not an expressed benefit. Okay, so we only got one thing that we need to tackle. And as soon as I point out that that's not a benefit to criticism, then it is unnecessary. And here, his argument is that she's trying to push a political agenda and we need to stop her from doing that. The reason you don't want ongoing criticism is because all you do is call attention to that agenda. If conservatives really don't want her to win, they need to stop ongoing criticism and let people ignore her. She is not coming back, okay? You have to, in this debate, you have to believe that the author of some interpretation of Hillary Clinton's memoirs knows better than Hillary Clinton whether or not she's going to run. Because it's never been like, my opponent never said she didn't say she wasn't going to run. That's what she said. It's been quoted several times. She's never running for office ever again from her own mouth. That is a better source than someone's interpretation about why she might. People are wrong about their interpretations. Look at Donald Trump. You need to move on to other targets if you want to be successful as a political party. You can't be living in the past. You have to move on. Like, he's making it seem like the Democrats are the only ones who have an age problem. Yeah, the average representative for the Democrats is really old, but the average age for a Republican is really old. If you look at the turnout for the vote on for Trump, most of the elderly vote was going towards Trump. You need to make it look like you need to be relevant. And talking about the past always, about some past evil, conspiratorial politician isn't the way to do that. You have to do it for the people who are going to run in the future. Hillary Clinton is too old to run. She is too demoralized to run, and she said that she's not going to run. This is a big issue. The judges in this round have to believe that Hillary Clinton is the future of the party, and that is the only reason that criticism is warranted. But secondly, also remember that even bad press, it brings attention to these issues as well. Next, he talks about Nixon. He says, well, yeah, people criticize Nixon afterwards, right? But at some point, it became unnecessary. Let's not forget that word in this resolution. It's not necessary. It's not going to create a unique benefit. People should have criticized when he got pardoned. That was a criticism. But now, if somebody criticized Nixon now, we're past that point.
But okay, so I'll respond to a few points. First of all, you keep bringing up the Republicans and the Conservative Party. Once again, that's only aspect of it. There's also a large amount of the Democratic Party, the younger Democratic Party, that expressed their distaste of Hillary Clinton by saying she did not represent me and my ideals in her term as a public servant, and therefore warrants criticism to set a precedent for the future that they have for their elected officials, as I keep bringing up. Next, you say we should move on to other targets, Obama and Elizabeth Warren, and I'm perfectly for that. But Hillary Clinton is still at the front of the Democratic movement. Like even you brought up Nixon, right? How after Nixon gets pardoned, everybody there became a point. That's true. There becomes a point, but it's not when Nixon was still trying to push people to be politically active. And from her own mouth, or from Hillary Clinton's own mouth, is anything but done. It's still creating websites to try and push people onto her platform. It's still writing books. And you say that she says that she's not running again, and that's true. She has said that. She's also said she's thinking about it on certain occasions, for one. But two, even if you say that she's not going to say that, it's still a possibility, and a fairly likely possibility, considering the DNC is still purging people, according to CNN, that are in the opposition to Hillary Clinton and the Clintons. But I think the whole part of this debate comes down to whether or not it is necessary for the Democrats, the young Democrats, to continue to criticize Hillary Clinton to accomplish their goals, and the Republicans to continue to criticize Hillary Clinton to accomplish their goals. To start with the Democrats, it's absolutely necessary because there's been basically no change in the DNC. They're still purging the people that are in opposition to Hillary Clinton. They still use Hillary Clinton as this tap of information and source, which is frankly bad information that they don't want and does not embody the ideals of the majority of their base, right? I think most of you brought up Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, how they had more young people vote for them, but a lot of that was more of an anti-Trump movement than a pro-Hillary movement. I think we can both agree that most of the young people in the Democratic Party were strongly for Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton. So, and then when you get to the Republicans are criticizing Hillary Clinton to demonize the entire party because she's still on a high political platform. So it's necessary for them to accomplish their goals. It's essential. But on top of that, they also want to set a precedent for our elected officials in the future, as I keep coming back to, because she had some major scandals and some major mix-ups, like the email, like Benghazi, and she was never prosecuted for those. That's hard evidence. And so they have to continue to criticize her to understand that this is not okay. When you have somebody that's mishandling classified information and they're not prosecuted, you have to make it clear and cut that this is not okay. And scandals are still happening. So clearly there has not been much progress on that aspect either. And with that, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay. The consequence of mishandling classified information, and let's remember that classified information never made it outside. It just was the potential for a leak. It never actually became a leak. The consequence for that should be a House committee hearing of any length whatsoever and public criticism for that thing. It should not be for the duration of your life, okay? Those leaks happened literally 10 years ago. 10 years ago, and you're saying, like, we need to continue criticism. Like, that is ridiculous. There's no reason why that ongoing criticism is going to bring about a new investigation, new revelations. We have beat this horse to death, and we are continuing to beat it, okay? And remember, no response to the fact that this has been litigated more than Watergate, okay? And that was enough to find out everything we needed to know about that issue. So why can't we just let the results lie? There was also no response to my informal double jeopardy standard that I think we as a moral society should impose as well, that we should not relitigate things over and over again, because all it is mean-spirited, and you're trying to destroy somebody's life because you disagree with them. That is not the country we live in. That's not even what this website is about. You disagree with somebody and you can criticize them, but if you try to destroy their life or the rest of their life, that is an unethical thing to do. They say young Democrats are critical of Hillary Clinton, and they need to be critical because they won't understand who they are if they don't continue to criticize them. That's bunk. They have moved on, okay? They're not pining about Hillary Clinton. In fact, he even said that the youth vote was more of an anti-Trump vote than it was a pro-Hillary vote. They have moved on. They know who they are for. They know who they are against. They don't need some sort of political dinosaur to give them an identity, okay? I know plenty of young Democrats, and they're not sitting there worried about whether or not Hillary Clinton is going to make a comeback. Nobody is, except for the right-wing media, because, like I said, it gets them ratings. Another argument that's never been responded to. That's the only reason for ongoing criticism is to get likes, subscriptions, get people viewing, stuff like that. It doesn't change the outcome of anything. He says, yes, we need to criticize both people, but I say divided attention means that you are not doing the due diligence on the people who are in power that need the. We have elected officials right now who need to be viewed at. And there's only so many resources. Investigations are expensive, okay? Like FOIA things take a lot of time to file. We have limited resources and we should be focusing on people in power. Hillary Clinton is not, and she's not going to be. Anyone who says so is fooling themselves.
So you talk about, the consequences of our investigation. We're beating a dead horse. It's been 10 years. Well, first of all, the 10 years, most like the congressional hearing was only in 2016, right? And to an extent, we're still uncovering some information about it fairly regularly for her email scandal, at least. So that's of some significance. On top of that, we're not talking about to the day she dies, but it's about the how long her political career is, right? After Richard Nixon retired and was pardoned, no, I doubt people criticized him anymore. It's not logical to do that. But she's still trying to pursue a career as a public figure and political active. You said she's not in power. That's just not true. You don't have to be an elected official to have power in this world, right? Oprah's not an elected official, yet she's probably the most powerful woman on earth. So when you look at things, it's her audience, for one, her outreach. Millions of people are like following Hillary Clinton on Twitter, for one. So she's clearly very powerful in the way she influences people, but she's also trying to start political movements. And therefore, these young Democrats who don't like Hillary Clinton need to express that they want to change in the Democratic Party. That's the next one I'm going to bring up. You said since it was anti-Trump and they can determine who they want to vote for too, that doesn't mean that they need to criticize Hillary Clinton. It's wrong because they want to get that message through to the Democratic leadership. The Democratic leadership is still staying close to the Clintons, still using their resources and their knowledge, and still purging people that are in the opposition to Hillary Clinton. If the Democratic Party really wants to appeal to its younger audience, then they need to sever ties with the Clintons. And the young Democrats are expressing that through showing their distaste for Hillary Clinton, right? They criticize Hillary Clinton. They say, this is not what we want. And until there's a change in the leadership in the Democratic Party, I think it's foolish for them to stop criticizing Hillary Clinton. And I'll pass it back to you so you can respond to that.
So this is my last chance, but I think that the most important word is unnecessary. My opposition is just talking about whether or not it makes people feel good or whether or not it's their right. He's not talking about any unique benefits. Remember, conservatives don't want ongoing criticism of Hillary Clinton because it will only draw attention to her website, to her book, and things like that. And there's no such thing as bad press, not responded to. Secondly, the way that young Democrats can sever ties with Hillary Clinton is by stop ongoing criticism. If you want to keep her alive, continue criticizing her. Last but not least, I think we should also hold ourselves to a double jeopardy standard. Don't relitigate things over and over again. It is mean-spirited. It is unethical. It is time to move on.
So a few of your points, then I'll stop here. So you talked about there's no such thing as bad press, and we're giving attention by criticizing her. And of course, you're going to get some attention by being criticized. That's absolutely true. But it's important to express your distaste because, like, the young Democrats, especially in Congress and in the DNC, they have minimal power. It's all filled up by people over the age of 60, significantly elderly populations that embodies a different ideals than the current young age Democrats. And therefore, they have to express their criticism, which is an absolute necessity to them because they want the party to go through a metamorphosis and to evolve and adapt to their modern ideals. And so therefore, by criticizing them, they are getting that press that's saying, hey, we do not agree with Hillary Clinton, and we want the party to move on, which is necessary for them to achieve their goals. The conservatives, same thing. They do not want people like Hillary Clinton put into power, right? Because she had major mishandling, and even the ideals she follows, they do not ideologically agree with. And the double jeopardy standard thing that you brought up multiple times, sure, I don't think people should be tried multiple times, but I think it's significant to criticize them for when they do missteps and misactions to set a precedent for elected officials in the future. So just to sum it up here, we're getting to the end here. I know you're out of time, but it's in the end, it's whether or not it is necessary for these groups to achieve their goals, mainly politically, to criticize Hillary Clinton, and whether or not anything has happened to make them to stop. That's the burden my opponents have, whether or not they should stop. The young Democrats have not had a change in power. If anything, it's the opposite. They're still purging Bernie Sanders supporters, so there's no change there, and Hillary Clinton's still active, so therefore they should criticize her to try and have them sever ties and change the DNC. The Republicans still don't think they've gotten justice for things like Benghazi or the email scandal, and it's necessary for them because they want the precedent and the expectation to be clear-cut for their elected officials, which with people like Donald Trump, we still have these scandals and these problems, right? So they want to make it a very clear message. There has been no change in the quality of the service between these public servants, and therefore we can use Hillary Clinton as an embodiment of that to therefore express our ideals through criticizing her. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you for the debate.